when you're watching Toy Story 2. I mean, what an amazing sequel. I think that after the first success, they didn't really after the first movie did so well, I don't know if they were contemplating or thinking about like, hey, should we do it again, or maybe we should try something else. And I suppose at the time they were like, they would already started working on A Bug's Life without knowing like exactly how Toy Story was going to turn out, or something along those lines. Maybe I think if the first Toy Story movie came out in what 1996, maybe, then 3 years later in 1999 they came out with Toy Story 2, and then A Bug's Life came out in 1998, maybe. So it goes Toy Story, right? They didn't know how big of a success it was going to be because it was the first time they had done 3D animation. Then they take 97 off to work on A Bug's Life. Uh, they put out A Bug's Life in 1998, and seeing the overwhelming positive responses from Toy Story, and I guess the semi success or the good work from A Bug's Life gave them enough like of a push to go like, let's do Toy Story again. Let's revisit this. We already have all the, we already have all the characters figured out, and we're going to be adding some new ones, a few new ones. So it's going to be, the technology is getting better. We're going to be able to do this story even better and more fun than the last time. Let's give it a try. And they did a great job on all accounts. Truly a great sequel. It's very rare. I mean, it's not rare. Sequels are usually better than the first ones, but this is one of the. I mean, Toy Story is a classic, and this sequel is also just a great classic as well, in my opinion. I think they move on, or they carry the story. It feels so natural. It makes so much sense, and I think Toy Story 2 is a lot of repetition. Toy Story is kind of, it's like that's its first, that's the classic, but Toy Story 2, it kind of repeats a little bit with the following sequels, Toy Story 3, 4, and what's soon to be 5. But I'm really interested to see how you know, how they develop it, I guess. I mean, not Toy Story 5. I'm talking about Toy Story 2. What am I talking about? But at the time, it's really cool. And the difference between Toy Story and Toy Story 2 is in the first movie, it was about Woody hates Buzz, and he's trying to push him out. He's trying to push him away, physically, or he's physically trying to overtake him as Andy's favorite toy. So he pushes him away, and then by the end of the movie, they come back together as a friendship, as true friends, and they break down each other's walls very well. And this one, it's more so like they're together, they're friends, they're good together, everything's going well for them. Things are exciting, They're at the peak of playtime. Andy's playing with everybody, he's hanging out, he's gonna take Woody to cowboy camp. They have the new dog. Like everything's fun. It's interesting. It's really cool. It's the dynamic works, and the it feels like everybody gets a piece of the pie, so to speak. Woody's not, no longer overtaken by Buzz. It's now like everybody's a big team now. Everybody's working together to have fun and make Andy's, room like a true playtime joy, a miracle, you know what I mean? A haven, if you will. So it's perfect. It's perfect. And so outside forces, force Woody and Andy to come apart, or to be pushed apart from one another, which is Woody kind of getting his arm ripped. And that arm rip is a huge signifier of, like, I guess Woody's insecurity, or his feelings of like he's no longer of value to Andy. Once he's ripped, once he's kind of a destroyed toy now, he's no longer play withable. He's no longer like, oh, I don't want to play with you anymore. That's why he had that whole dream sequence, which is like, oh, you're broken. I don't want to play with you anymore. And he tosses him out. That's his fear. That's what's hurting him inside, is that like, darn it, the more he plays with me, the more I'm susceptible to getting injured, to getting cut, to being destroyed, and then being discarded. So he has insecurities about his value to Andy, as the years go on and on and on. And that's real. That's very real. And they touch on this subject time and time again. But then outside forces again, they push them apart. So it's Woody now being taken by some man out of nowhere, and it's kind of like if Woody was struggling with his feelings of uh security, or he was dealing with insecurities about like his value to Andy. He's now being appreciated and valued by, you know, his fellow toys, his Roundup gang, Jesse and Bullseye and Stinky Pete and Al. It's like he does have value. He's actually very valuable. He's a collector's item. There's not a lot of Woody cowboy dolls and stuff like that. Like, he's very original in that sense. Whereas Buzz, there's a million Buzz Lightyears, you know what I mean? Because they're in mass production right now. Because he's a very hot toy right now. So there's a bunch of Buzz Lightyears, but there's only one Woody, or so that we see, you know what I mean? But like, there's been multiple iterations of Woody, I'm sure, but he's a lot more rare than Buzz in that aspect, you know what I'm saying? And so they start off together and then they're pushed apart, and it's now Buzz who's trying to get Woody back, paralleling like Woody's need to fix his relationship with Buzz at the time and save him, and kind of get back to Andy's, before they move and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to see the way that they flow and the way that they work now. And it's no longer a solo mission. Buzz takes all the toys along for a ride. So, and that's the cool part about it, is when they go to Al's Toy Barn and they like hide under the safety cones and they cross the street and stuff like that. Like, that stuff's really, really cool and fun to work with. And it's such a amazing animation creativity, because it's like they don't have to struggle or necessarily work on creating this huge action sequence with Buzz. And I mean, even though they do, they don't have to struggle with it. They just have to go like, oh yeah, we're just going to animate some safety cones, and then that's going to be the toys crossing the street, you know what I mean? And they do it great, and it's a great job, all things considered. But yeah, it's so fun to see in the first movie, like, Buzz was so sure of himself. He had like his identity, you know what I mean? He knew who he was. He knew that he was a space ranger and he had to defeat the Emperor Zurg and all of these other different things, you know what I'm saying? Like, he had a purpose, he had an identity, and then Woody came along and he shattered it. He told him, "Hey, you're just a toy. You're not a real space ranger. You can't fly off into outer space and do all of these crazy things. That's not real." You know what I'm saying? And so then, now in this movie, Woody felt like he knew himself as Andy's favorite toy, somebody that he was sure of his position. Then his arm got ripped, and now it's in question. And then it's like, wow, I found these other toys that I can connect with, and I'm like actually a part of this group. I'm actually valuable to these people. To these other toys. Like, that's really cool, and that's cool to Woody, that he can be a part of something like that, So then that's when his identity is in question, is that like, I'm not meant to be just some toy in Andy's room. I'm a collector's item. I'm going to be appreciated by a bunch of people, you know what I'm saying? People are going to come around and they're going to see me and my fellow gang here, and we're all going to be appreciated and loved and respected, and nobody's going to hurt us anymore, We're not going to have to worry about like what happens to us, you know what I'm saying? We are going to be cared for and stuff like that, and that's the really exciting part. And so by the end of it, we see Buzz actually find Woody. And that confrontation, all of that buildup, all of that journey to find Woody, to bring him back home, to save him, is met with the conversation with like, Woody's like, how much longer until I'm no longer Andy's favorite toy? How long until I'm like thrown away into the garage sale and stuff like that? And Buzz has to explain like, it was an accident. You were never meant to be put in there. It was just how things turned out at the time, So it just kind of feels like, it was an issue until it wasn't an issue. But that initial confrontation between Buzz and Woody, where they finally meet up and they talk about what they should do, it's like Woody's like, I can't leave these guys. They need me. We're a collection. We're a set, you know? And I think it's Buzz who really smacks some sense into him and reminds him that, like, the life that we have together as toys isn't a bad life. And yeah, this is, this is an opportunity. This is exciting. This is security. It's safe to be with these guys and stuff like that. But Buzz said it best, is like, to do what? You know what I mean? Like, you're valuable, but behind glass? You know what I'm saying? It's like, or you could bring one kid joy time and time again. You know what I'm saying? Like, having those memories, it's valuable. It's just as valuable. So it's cool. It's really, really cool the way that they break that down together. And eventually Woody's kind of like, you know what? I can't stop Andy from getting older, but I want to be there to witness it. I want to be a part of it. And that's the beauty of life, you know what I'm saying? And that's a good way to see it. So then, after all of this time together, we see Woody and Buzz, like, everybody just trying to get back to Andy's afterwards. And circumstances push them apart again and stuff like that. Stinky Pete's the bad guy. But great cast. Everybody does a great job, Jessie, a great supporting the actress who plays her, I forget her name. I'm so sorry, but she a great addition to the cast and a great perspective on things. And she's also what kind of like draws Woody into her side, is that, like, you see the pain that Jessie goes through, the pain of she lived a full life with a kid, you know what I'm saying? She was loved and played with at the beginning, but then she was left under the bed to collect dust and hidden away and not played with anymore. Gone, forgotten, left behind. She's been there. And she's telling Woody that it's like, I don't, that sadness, that feeling, that pain, you can't get away from that. And so now Jessie's in this space, in this place where she's like, I don't want to be in storage anymore. I don't want to be in the box anymore. I want to be loved and appreciated. And if that means that I have to sit behind glass to do it, I feel like that's better than actually, like, being loved and then rejected by one kid, because then you're so dependent on that one person to give you all of that love. You know what I'm saying? But time and time again, it has shown that love is just a cycle. It's a cycle, And when Woody offers Jessie the opportunity to be like, listen, wouldn't you give another day to be with Emily, to spend with her, to play with her, to see her grow up and stuff like that? Like, I think you would. And I think that's exciting. I think that's fun. I think that's beautiful. And you should be a part of that. You should be with them, And so he convinces her and Bullseye to join, and he tries to convince Stinky Pete, who rejects it and stuff like that. It's just, it's so good. It's such a great movie and a great follow-up to the first movie, because they finally get together, but now, in this movie, they finally, like, settle in their life, you know what I mean? There's no more doubt anymore of, like, should we be with, should toys, like, should we be with Andy, even though we know it's going to bring, even though we know he's going to get older, even though we know he's no longer going to love us the same way, even though we know he's probably gonna put us in storage or not, care about us anymore, the same way they did with Jessie. But that's why you have to appreciate now, right now, when he's like happy-go-lucky and playing with everybody, having a blast with all of his toys. That's the best part. That's the cool part. And I'm sure everybody's been there where they can recall, like, playing with toys or playing with something brand new and fresh. And I feel like, obviously, in this new digital era, we are a lot more connected to video games and technology and videos and movies and stuff like that. But that part where we all grew up playing with, like, a new toy came out, or this thing came out, or this was really exciting and fun, or we got that, a stuffed animal to play with, or we got like an action figure, a Spider-Man action figure, or a Superman, or a Hulk, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's creativity and it's fun and it's playful. It's really exciting, and that's what this movie touches on, is that like that time was so special, not just for you but for the toys. And now obviously we all grow up, we all kind of maybe outgrow them a little bit to an extent, you know what I'm saying? Not that everybody does, but I'm saying is that like we don't play with them in the same way we used to when we were kids. Now it's a little bit more controlled. Now it's like we collect them, you know what I mean, to kind of look pretty for a certain aesthetic, to maybe, you know, as like pillows or for comfort and things like that, but not for actual playtime per se. You know what I'm saying? But overall, Toy Story 2, a great sequel. Man, it's just every single time you watch it and rewatch it, there's always something new to learn from it, you know what I mean? The airplane scene was also really fun. Bullseye, man, great. I mean, they truly do have everything in this movie. They got a traffic scene with the cars and the coffee cone. They have a chase scene where Buzz is like going after the car. They have the airplane scene where they have to like jump out of the plane and then jump onto Bullseye and stuff like that. They have the fight scene where it's like they're in the luggage. You know, that was really cool. They have the Zurg versus Buzz Lightyear, but with the belt. We have Buzz versus Buzz Lightyear. We got so many things that's just like so inventive and so new and so exciting that what they did, and some great callbacks and joyful moments. It really is just so cool to see. Also that Cheeto Puff scene, that's also really fun. That's really fun. What else is there? Um, another interesting fact about this movie. The movie got deleted. Like somehow it got deleted. But then that lady, she had it on her computer and she saved the movie. She saved all of it on her computer and she saved that movie. Toy Story 2 would have never been like as good as it was, but she brought it back to life. She was able to save everybody and they were like, "Oh, snap, she saved it. Great." They had all of their work back, or maybe partially, but they had it all back. And then I think recently she got fired, like maybe last year or 2 years ago or something like that. They fired her, which was, I was like, she dead ass saved that movie and now they fire her. Crazy. Anyways, basically you could rewatch this movie a bunch of times and come away with it with any number of new things from it. But I'll say this: Pixar was definitely in their bag when it comes to Toy Story. Those two back to back were really, really something. 1996, 1999, 3 years apart, give or take. But they needed to cook. They needed to cook a little bit. But so it was like 1996. So 1994, 1995, maybe they were working on the first Toy Story, unsure how it would play out or how well it would be received. But it came out in 1996, and then maybe from 1996 to 1997, they started working on A Bug's Life. And A Bug's Life, they also didn't know how well that was going to be received. But then after Toy Story did well, and then Bug's Life released, that did very well. So they were kind of like in this 1997, 1998 space where it was like, we can make Toy Story 2 and we already have all the animations. I talked about this already, but I just think that's really cool to think about, like the time placements of how they started creating everything or started working on stuff. So I just think that's really cool. That's really cool. And it's fun to think about that they, at the beginning, they were just diversifying. At first it was Toy Story, and then they went to A Bug's Life instead of the immediate sequel. Because they were like, we don't want to be just the Toy Story people. We want to be able to tell all kinds of stories. And I thought that was really smart of them to be like, we're not just the Toy Story guys. We also do ants and circus bugs and all these other different things. And then, the sequel comes out. And then they took like a huge gap in between Toy Story 2 to Toy Story 3. And it made, and it made sense why that there was so much time in between. And yeah, when we get to Toy Story 3, we'll talk about it. But anyways, when you're watching Toy Story 2, let's be real here. I think the best part of the film is like seeing uh well, it's Buzz and Woody. Buzz and Woody, they're the best part of it. Every time Buzz and Woody, it cuts back and forth between the two of them. It's so it's so great to see that even though they're apart, they're still like their friendship is so connected. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.